Welcome to the deep dive, everyone.
It's great to be here.
Today we're diving into Echotruth, rebuilding after the fall, and more specifically, Chapter 4, The Power of Second Chances. Now, this chapter really got me thinking about how we, pick ourselves up after facing those tough times, right?
Yeah.
And rebuild our lives with truth and righteousness kind of like at the center of it all.
Yeah, it's not just about bouncing back, though, is it?
Yeah.
It's about rebuilding intentionally.
Right.
With a focus on, creating a better version of yourself.
Right.
And a better world around you.
Absolutely. And, the chapter kicks off by calling for a community built on some pretty fundamental principles. Truth, spirit, life, and goodness.
Right.
I have to admit, when I first read that, I thought, well, this is a bit idealistic.
Yeah.
But the more I thought about it, I realized these principles are really the foundation for any healthy society.
It's like building a house. If the foundation's weak, the whole structure is going to crumble eventually.
That's a great analogy. So how does the chapter suggest we actually put these principles into action?
Well, it emphasizes the importance of rejecting wrongdoing.
Okay.
Not just in our own lives, but in the systems and structures that shape our world, too.
Right.
It talks about managing the earth justly, working for the benefit of all, and avoiding conflict. Creating a society that's fair, sustainable, and truly serves everyone.
That's a tall order, but I guess it all starts with each individual, right?
Absolutely. And the chapter connects these principles back to something it calls creation's principles.
Okay.
And the guidance of true prophets.
Okay.
Now these concepts might seem a bit abstract at first.
Yeah.
But essentially it's saying that we need to kind of align ourselves with a higher moral compass.
Okay.
Something, beyond our own limited perspectives to really make the best choices for ourselves.
Right.
And our communities.
I see. So it's about tapping into a deeper wisdom.
Yeah.
That can guide our actions.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say we mess up, we make a mistake. That impacts someone else.
Yeah.
Does the chapter offer any guidance on how to, actually make things right?
It does. And it gets surprisingly specific when it comes to things like stolen goods or property damage.
Okay.
The emphasis is on making amends.
Right.
On restoring balance. For example, if you stole something, the chapter urges you to return it to the rightful owner.
Right.
And if you damage someone's property, you're called to compensate them, either through service or monetary repayment.
Oh, wow. It's really about taking responsibility for our actions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not just saying sorry, but actually doing something to repair the harm.
Exactly. It's about making things right in a tangible way.
Right.
It's also about recognizing that our actions have consequences and that we have this responsibility to make things whole again.
I'm really struck by this emphasis on taking concrete action.
Yeah.
Not just dwelling on guilt or regret. It's so empowering.
Yeah.
And speaking of empowerment, there's this section on loving your enemies.
Right.
That really got me thinking. How do we even begin to love someone who's hurt us or wishes us ill?
That's a great question. And it's something, so many people struggle with.
Right.
The chapter suggests that true love, aligned with truth teaching, recognizes the inherent equality of all human beings.
Okay.
It's about seeing beyond the negativity and connecting with the spark of goodness that exists in everyone, even those who might seem like our adversaries.
So it's not about condoning bad behavior, but about choosing a higher path.
Exactly. And the chapter acknowledges that this can be, incredibly difficult.
Right.
Especially when we're dealing with feelings of, anger, hurt, or resentment.
Right.
It even talks about envy and jealousy arising when we see others who are living in accordance with truth and experiencing the benefits of that alignment.
I can definitely relate to that. It's so easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others, especially, in this age of social media where everyone seems to be showcasing their perfect lives.
Yeah. Comparison can be a real trap.
Yeah.
But this chapter encourages us to rise above that.
Okay.
It suggests that by embracing these individuals with love, we can actually help to kind of neutralize their negativity.
Okay.
It's like meeting darkness with light.
That's such a beautiful concept. I think it requires a lot of inner strength and resilience.
It certainly does. And the chapter doesn't shy away from the fact that we're all human.
Right.
and we're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
In fact, it dives deep into this idea of blame as a diversion tactic.
Okay.
This tendency we have to point the finger at others instead of taking ownership of, like, our own choices.
Ooh, that's so true. I'm definitely guilty of blaming others sometimes,
Yeah,
especially when things aren't going my way.
it's a very human response.
Right.
But the chapter argues that blame only keeps us stuck in a victim mentality.
Okay.
It diminishes our personal power
Right.
and actually attracts more negative experiences into our lives.
So instead of blaming, my parents, my partner, my boss, whoever, for my problems, I should be looking inward
Yeah.
and asking myself, what role am I playing in creating this situation?
Exactly. And the chapter even provides a powerful affirmation to help us, break free from this victim role.
Okay.
It says, I refuse to play the role of victim and instead choose to take on a more cautionary approach.
Whoa. That's powerful. It's like a declaration of personal responsibility.
It is. And it really emphasizes the power of choice.
Right.
We may not be able to control everything that happens to us,
Right.
but we can always choose how we respond.
Right.
And that choice, that shift in perspective can make all the difference.
Okay, so we're choosing to take responsibility. We're choosing to love instead of blame. But what about those mornings when we wake up feeling, I don't know, grumpy? Just plain negative.
Yeah.
Does the chapter offer any tips for starting the day on a more, positive note?
It does. It talks about the morning of boldness, which I found intriguing.
Okay.
It encourages us to start each day with, kindness and boldness,
Okay.
especially before sunrise.
Okay.
The text suggests that this practice can help to kind of prevent aggression and conflict throughout the day.
So instead of hitting the snooze button, I should be jumping out of bed, ready to embrace the day with courage and a positive attitude.
It's like setting the tone for the entire day.
Yeah.
And the chapter highlights the importance of courage and uprightness
Okay.
as qualities that lead to personal empowerment
Okay.
and earn respect from others.
Okay.
It's about stepping into our power, owning our truth, and approaching each day with intention.
I never really thought about the connection between how I start my day and how the rest of the day unfolds.
Okay.
But it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
If I'm starting off feeling stressed and overwhelmed, that negativity tends to follow me throughout the day.
Yeah.
But if I can cultivate a sense of peace and purpose in the morning, I'm more likely to make better choices and handle challenges with grace.
That's a great insight. And this ties it this unique human capacity for conscious learning.
Okay.
Unlike animals, who primarily rely on instinct, we have the ability to, reflect on our experiences and choose a different path.
So it's like we're not just reacting to the world around us.
Yeah,
But we have the power to actively shape our reality.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it connects this capacity for learning to the importance of distinguishing ourselves from falsehood and ignorance.
Okay.
The chapter encourages us to engage in a daily process of, cleansing ourselves from past injustices and errors.
It's about letting go of the past and creating space for new knowledge and wisdom to emerge.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's an ongoing journey,
Right.
a commitment to continual growth and evolution.
This is all so fascinating. I'm already feeling inspired to make some changes in my own life. We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, but there's still so much more to explore. What else did you find particularly thought-provoking in this chapter?
Well, this chapter really dives into the concept of death
Okay.
and its connection to the quality of our lives. It suggests that death isn't predetermined,
Okay.
but rather arrives based on, a variety of factors,
Okay.
reflecting how we lived and the choices we made.
Wait, so it's saying that our actions and choices have a direct impact on how long we live.
That's what it's suggesting, yeah.
That's a pretty powerful concept.
It is. It challenges us to really examine how we're spending our time and energy.
Right.
It suggests that those who live in harmony with others, do good deeds, and cultivate genuine love tend to experience a more peaceful and fulfilling life and death as well.
So it's not about obsessing over longevity,
Right.
but about living in a way that allows us to die in peace, aligned with our inner consciousness.
Exactly. And it emphasizes the importance of leaving a positive mark on the world.
Right. But what about forgiveness? We all make mistakes. We all hurt others, and we all carry baggage from our past. How does the chapter address this very human struggle?
This is where the chapter's title, The Power of Second Chances, really comes into play.
Okay.
It emphasizes the transformative power of forgiveness, both for ourselves
Okay.
and for those who have wronged us. It suggests that forgiveness is the key to breaking free from past negativity and fostering, personal evolution.
But forgiveness can be so hard, especially when we've been deeply hurt.
Yeah.
How does the chapter suggest we even begin to forgive those who have caused us pain?
It starts with understanding that forgiveness isn't about condoning wrongdoing,
Okay.
but about releasing the negative energy that's holding us back. It's about choosing to move forward with, peace and compassion,
Right.
rather than staying stuck in a cycle of anger and resentment. And it's not a, one-time event.
Right.
It's an ongoing process that requires patience and a willingness to, to let go.
It sounds like forgiveness is really a gift we give ourselves,
Yeah,
as much as it's a gift we give to others.
absolutely. It frees us from the weight of the past
Yeah.
and opens up space for healing and growth. And the chapter links forgiveness to a whole cascade of positive outcomes,
Yeah.
peace, harmony, happiness, joy, love,
Yeah.
and ultimately true freedom.
Wow. That's quite the list. It sounds like forgiveness is truly the foundation for a more fulfilling and joyful life.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, does the chapter offer any insights into what could have been if humanity had, embraced these principles earlier in our history?
It does. It paints a pretty compelling picture of a world where violence, theft, deceit, hate, and conflict simply don't exist.
Wow.
It suggests that if past generations had heeded the teachings of, true prophets and lived in accordance with these principles, we could have avoided a lot of suffering
Right.
and created a much more harmonious society.
It's like a glimpse into a utopian reality that could have been.
It certainly makes you think.
Yeah.
And it emphasizes the importance of, learning from the mistakes of the past and making different choices in the present.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to create a better future, both for ourselves and for, generations to come. But what about those times when speaking our truth or standing up for what we believe in could put us in danger? Does the chapter offer any guidance on how to navigate those tricky situations?
It does. There's a section on what it calls living the unspoken in times of chaos. It's about discerning when to speak out and when to remain silent,
Okay.
how to safeguard knowledge while, living in accordance with it and waiting for safer opportunities to share your truth.
So it's not about being passive, but about choosing our battles wisely and protecting ourselves in the process.
Exactly. It's about balancing courage with prudence.
This chapter is it's packed with wisdom.
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground, from building a better community to personal responsibility, from loving our enemies to the power of forgiveness. But before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the chapter's discussion of exile as a consequence for murder. It seems like a pretty radical concept in today's world.
It is a challenging concept.
Yeah.
But it's rooted in the idea of protecting the community
Okay.
and preventing further harm.
Okay.
The chapter rejects blood money or violent punishments like, hanging, stoning, or decapitation
Right.
as acceptable solutions.
Right.
Instead, it advocates for isolation
Okay.
as a more just an effective way to address these crimes.
Right.
It emphasizes the sanctity of life
Right.
and the need to hold individuals accountable for their actions.
Okay.
While also promoting rehabilitation and preventing, further violence.
So it's not about revenge or retribution,
Right.
but about creating a safer society for everyone.
Exactly. And it acknowledges that even children or youths who commit murder
Yeah.
need to be held accountable with the degree of separation, determined by the severity of their actions.
Right.
It's a nuanced approach that recognizes the complexities of these situations.
Wow. This chapter is so comprehensive.
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground, from the individual to the societal level, from practical matters to profound spiritual truths. I'm really starting to see the depth and interconnectedness of these concepts. What are your final thoughts before we move on to the next part of our deep dive?
Well, this chapter really emphasizes that true purpose and meaning in life
Yeah.
lie in embodying wisdom and love,
Okay.
integrating them into our very being,
Okay.
so that we can connect with the source of all wisdom.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we're each accountable for our own existence,
Mm-hmm.
our actions and our efforts, regardless of, distractions or external influences.
Right.
It's a call to step into our power,
Right.
embrace our responsibility,
Yeah.
and create a life that reflects, our highest values.
That's such a powerful message. It's about recognizing that we have the power to create a better future, both for ourselves and for the world around us.
Yeah.
But it all starts with each individual making a conscious choice to live differently. It's not easy, but it's definitely worth striving for.
I couldn't agree more. It's about recognizing that we have the power to, choose a different path.
Right.
To create a more just and loving world.
And speaking of love, there's one more concept we need to unpack before we move on. Unconditional love.
Right.
This is a term that gets thrown around a lot, but the chapter offers I think, a really clear and powerful definition.
It contrasts unconditional love with what it calls manipulative love.
Okay.
Which uses affection for personal gain.
Right.
True love, according to the chapter, doesn't seek to control or manipulate.
Okay.
But simply to, embrace and accept. It's about recognizing the inherent worth and value in every being.
Right.
Regardless of their actions or mistakes.
That's a high ideal, but I think it's something we can all aspire to.
Absolutely. And the chapter goes on to explore how this concept of unconditional love plays out in our relationships.
Okay.
Emphasizing the importance of, mutual support, respect, shared responsibility, and equal rights.
Okay.
It also highlights the need for consent in sexual intercourse.
Right.
And prohibits coercion.
It's a beautiful vision of what, healthy relationships can look like.
Right.
Based on love, respect, and equality. It's a blueprint for creating connections that nourish and empower both individuals.
And it reminds us that healthy relationships are essential for personal growth.
Yeah.
And societal transformation. We can't create a just and loving world if our relationships are based on power imbalances or manipulation or lack of respect.
This chapter really challenges us to think differently about how we live.
Yeah.
How we relate to others. Yeah.
And what kind of world we want to create.
It's a call to step into our power.
Right.
Embrace our responsibility.
Yeah.
And choose a path of truth, love, and forgiveness.
And it all starts with each individual making a conscious choice to live differently. It's not easy, but it's definitely worth striving for.
I couldn't agree more. It's about recognizing that we have the power to create a better future, both for ourselves and for the world around us.
This chapter is full of so much wisdom and practical guidance. It's definitely one I'll be revisiting.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, we're going to take a short pause to let all of this information sink in. When we come back, we'll be diving even deeper into some of these concepts and exploring how they can be applied in your everyday life.
I'm looking forward to it.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. I don't know about you, but I'm still processing all the incredible insights from The Power of Second Chances. There's so much packed into this chapter.
Yeah, it really is a deep dive into personal and societal transformation, you know?
And I think that's what makes it so relevant for us today. We're living in a time where rebuilding both individually and collectively is more important than ever.
Totally. And I think the chapter's emphasis on personal responsibility really resonated with me. It's so easy to get caught up in blaming others for our circumstances.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we have the power to choose how we respond to the challenges we face.
Yeah, that idea of blame is a diversion tactic. That's so powerful, isn't it? It's like a wake-up call to, stop pointing fingers and start taking ownership of our own lives.
Right.
And the affirmation the chapter suggests, I refuse to play the role of victim and instead choose to take on a more cautionary approach.
Right.
It's a fantastic tool for shifting that mindset.
It's like we're reclaiming our power, Instead of seeing ourselves as victims of circumstance, we're recognizing that we have agency, that we can make choices that shape our experiences.
Exactly. And those choices begin with awareness.
Mm-hmm.
The chapter highlights the importance of conscious learning, of recognizing that we have the capacity to learn from our mistakes.
Right.
And choose a different path.
Right.
It's what sets us apart from, other animals.
Yeah.
We're not just reacting to our environment, we're actively shaping it.
Yeah, I love that. It's so empowering. It's like we're constantly evolving, becoming wiser and more compassionate with each experience.
And that evolution is, it's closely tied to forgiveness.
Right.
Both for ourselves and others. Holding on to anger and resentment, It only weighs us down,
Yeah.
keeps us stuck in the past. Forgiveness, on the other hand, liberates us.
It's like we're releasing those heavy chains and finally allowing ourselves to, to fly free. But how do we actually do that? How do we forgive those who have hurt us so deeply, especially when it feels so, so incredibly difficult?
Well, the chapter reminds us that forgiveness isn't about condoning the actions
Right.
of those who have wronged us. It's not about saying that what they did was okay. It's about recognizing that everyone makes mistakes,
Yeah.
that we all have the capacity for both, harm and healing. And it's about choosing to release the negative energy that's poisoning our own hearts.
It's like we're choosing to heal ourselves, to break free from that cycle of pain and resentment. But I imagine it takes a lot of courage and compassion to reach that point.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And it's not a linear process,
Right.
There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, and even anger. But the key is to keep coming back to that intention, that desire to forgive, to release the burden that we're carrying. And remember, forgiveness is often a journey, not a destination.
It's about progress, not perfection. And I think it's important to remember that forgiveness isn't just about, our relationships with others. It's also about forgiving ourselves.
Right.
We all make mistakes. And sometimes the harshest critic we face is the one in our own heads.
You're so right. Self-forgiveness is essential for healing and growth. It's about recognizing that we did the best we could with the knowledge and awareness we had at the time.
Right.
And it's about extending the same, grace and compassion to ourselves that we would offer to a loved one.
This whole idea of forgiveness really ties into the chapter's vision of what could have been.
Yeah.
If humanity had embraced these principles earlier on.
Right.
A world without violence, theft, deceit, hate, and conflict. It sounds almost too good to be true.
It's a utopian vision, for sure.
Yeah.
But it serves as a powerful reminder that our choices have consequences.
Right.
Not just for ourselves, but for future generations.
Right.
It's a call to action.
Yeah.
An invitation to create a better world.
Right.
By making different choices in the present.
Yeah. And those choices begin with each individual, as the chapter so clearly states. Each person is independently responsible for their existence, actions, and efforts.
It's a powerful statement of personal accountability. We can't control everything that happens to us.
Right.
But we can control how we respond.
Right.
We can choose to live in an alignment with, truth and love, or we can perpetuate the cycle of negativity.
Right.
It's our choice.
It's interesting how the chapter connects these profound spiritual concepts to really practical matters.
Yeah.
Like how we handle stolen goods or the importance of consent in relationships. It's not just airy-fairy philosophy. It's about how we actually live our lives day in and day out.
That's what makes it so compelling.
Right.
It offers like a holistic approach to rebuilding,
Yeah.
addressing both our inner world and our outer actions.
Yeah.
It recognizes that true transformation happens on multiple levels.
And it's not about being perfect, right? It acknowledges that we'll make mistakes, that we'll face challenges, but it encourages us to keep striving, to keep learning, to keep choosing, the path of truth and love.
Exactly. It's about progress, not perfection. It's about, having the courage to face our shadows, to forgive ourselves and others, and to keep moving forward even when it's hard.
Yeah.
And it's about recognizing that we're not alone in this journey.
Right.
The chapter emphasizes the importance of community,
Right.
of surrounding ourselves with like-minded individuals who support our growth and inspire us to be, our best selves.
It's about creating a network of support, a space where we can be vulnerable, share our struggles, and celebrate our victories. And it's about recognizing that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
That our individual well-being is inextricably linked to, the well-being of the collective.
You're right. It's about creating a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, to experience love, joy, and fulfillment.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
We've talked about personal responsibility, forgiveness, the power of choice, and the importance of community.
Yeah.
What really stood out to you from this part of the chapter?
I think the concept of unconditional love is particularly powerful.
Right.
It's a challenging ideal, but it's something we can all strive for in our relationships.
Right.
It's about loving without conditions or expectations, about seeing the inherent worth and value in every being.
It's about embracing people for who they are,
Yeah,
not for who we want them to be.
exactly. And it's about recognizing that true love isn't possessive or controlling.
Right.
It's about allowing people the freedom to be themselves,
Yeah.
even if that means, they make choices we don't agree with.
It's about respecting their autonomy
Yeah.
and honoring their journey, even if it diverges from our own.
Precisely. And I think this concept of unconditional love is closely linked to the chapter's emphasis on consent and the prohibition of coercion, particularly in intimate relationships. It's about recognizing that everyone has the right to make choices about their own bodies and their own lives, free from pressure or manipulation.
It's about creating relationships based on, mutual respect, trust, and genuine care.
Yeah.
And it's about understanding that love should never be used as a weapon
Right.
or a means of control.
Absolutely. And I think this is a message that's particularly important in today's world,
Right.
where issues of consent, power dynamics, and healthy relationships are at the forefront of so many conversations.
Right. This chapter is so rich with wisdom and practical guidance. We're getting close to the end of our deep dive into the power of second chances, but there's still more to explore. When we come back, we'll be wrapping up this episode with some final reflections and a thought-provoking question to leave you pondering. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the power of second chances. This chapter, I have to say, has really changed how I think about, what it means to rebuild and create a world that's more just and loving.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
From personal responsibility to actually changing society, this chapter really does cover a lot. And I think what's most striking is how it combines those kind of big spiritual ideas with really practical advice on how to live a better life.
One thing that I keep thinking about is this idea of the ripple effect. I mean, the chapter doesn't use that phrase directly,
Right.
but it's there throughout. It's the idea that the choices we make, the things we do, they all have consequences. And those consequences, well, they go way beyond just us.
It's like if you throw a pebble in a pond.
Right.
The ripples, they spread out, touching everything. And just like those ripples, the things we do can create good or bad result for others.
Right, even for future generations.
Exactly. So it's not just about, us growing as people. It's about understanding that we're all part of something much bigger. It's about realizing that our choices can actually shape the world.
It really is a powerful thought when you think about it that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
It means we all have the ability to make a difference, to work towards a world that's more just, more compassionate, more in harmony.
It's a call to action. It's inviting us to step up and be the change we want to see in the world. And that's where I think the chapter's emphasis on building a strong community comes in. We can't do this alone.
Definitely not. Change is always easier, it lasts longer when we have people around us who get it.
Right.
People who believe in the same things and inspire us to be better. The chapter actually calls for a growing community of like-minded individuals.
Right.
Who come together to really live by these principles of truth, justice, and love. It's about building a space where we can support each other, challenge each other, and celebrate how we're all growing together.
It's about understanding that we're all connected, that if one of us is doing well, it helps everyone. And I think that's such an important message, especially in a world where it feels like everyone's so divided.
It reminds us that we're not on this journey by ourselves. We all have something unique to give, and we all have something to learn from each other.
Right.
And when we come together, when we help each other out, we can build a world that's better and more beautiful for everyone.
This whole chapter has been this huge reminder of the good that's inside each of us, the ability to choose love over fear, forgiveness over holding grudges, and hope when things feel really tough.
Yeah.
It's about seeing that even when things are really hard, we still have the power to rebuild, to heal, and to make things better.
It's about remembering that we can always have a second chance, both for ourselves and for other people. And it's about accepting the journey, even with all its ups and downs, knowing that growth and change, they never really stop.
Well, I think we've gotten to the end of our deep dive into the power of second chances. It's been a really eye-opening experience for me. So many things to think about and so much real advice on how to live a better life.
I couldn't agree more. I really hope exploring this chapter with you has made you think about your own journey, how you can use these ideas in your life, and how to embrace those second chances when they come along.
Before we go, I want to leave you with one last thing to think about. If forgiveness and second chances are so important, how can you use that in your life right now? Maybe there's someone you need to forgive, maybe even yourself. Or maybe there's a situation where you need to give someone another chance to show understanding instead of judgment. It's something to think about as you go about your day.
Remember, even the smallest act of forgiveness can make a big difference. It can bring positive change in your life and in the world.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep choosing the path of truth and love.
See you next time.